Hello again and a warm welcome to the Zanute TV news show. Delighted as always to welcome Matt Chilton. Matt, hello to you. Tell us what's new this week.
Thanks, Nick. Yes, we start this week with Make UK's Manufacturing Monitor Survey. It is essentially saying to government, could it waive or defer business rates, but also is there an opportunity to increase the annual investment allowance to kickstart a bit of an industrial recovery. Quite a few interesting facts and figures coming out of this, and I think a true snapshot for some of the challenges that the sector is facing at the moment, but also on the more optimistic side of things as well.
Well, let's have a look at a few of those statistics, because as you say, they really do provide quite a decent snapshot of the industry as it sees itself at this stage of the pandemic.
Yes, that's right. So currently 51% of manufacturers have no furloughed staff at all. In addition to that element, 58% do not plan to use the job support scheme when that begins. Unfortunately, half have already made redundancies, which obviously is a less positive aspect to this, and also 1 in 5 still planning further redundancies in the next 6 months. Just over a quarter believe that they will achieve full operating levels by the start of 2021, and I guess in a more optimistic mood, half of them believe that the UK will return to normal trading conditions in less than 12 months. So I think a snapshot of sentiment, a snapshot of current thoughts from those that were surveyed for this survey.
Yeah, what's interesting, of course, is that we keep very closely focused, obviously, on the pandemic and how it's affecting the manufacturing sector. But we must not ignore the fact that there is a tremendous amount of progress being made on issues such as sustainability and investment. Let's take the sustainability story first, a really interesting one from Britvic.
Yes, Britvic has announced that they will move to 100% recycled plastic bottles by the end of 2022. The latest in a line of stories that we've touched on, looking at plastic and use of recycled PET. But for Britvic themselves, it's the latest in a number of sustainability initiatives that they had. At the back end of 2018, they moved to 100% renewable electricity at all their facilities in the UK. So it's nice to see, of course, the big food manufacturers with the likes of Britvic, but also manufacturers in general thinking more about sustainability projects within their businesses.
Yes, and it's always good to see manufacturing leading the way on this issue, as of course it does on productivity in the UK economy. We got 2 investment stories this week, both about food.
Yes, the first is Finner Brogue making a £25 million investment at a new factory in Northern Ireland that will be focused on plant-based food. It's the 4th new factory in 5 years and brings the firm's total investment during that period to £80 million. So certainly someone who's been investing for the future, lots of growth, lots of job creation. So let's hope that continues for them.
Yeah, that's plant-based food, but of course they became most famous for their naked bacon, which is still bacon but doesn't have any nitrites in it. So they're leading the way in both areas, making the processed meat sector more healthy and, of course, providing products for those who don't wish to eat meat at all. Let's move on to edible oils.
Yes, so the second big investment this week, almost £24 million being invested by Edible Oils at its Kent facility. They're going to be increasing production capacity by 50%, bit of a mixture of the investment to obviously expand the facility itself, but also investing in new lines to increase capacity. So a couple of positive news stories from the food sector this week.
Yeah, if anybody is wondering who Edible Oils are, they're actually a joint venture between Archer Daniel Midland in the USA and Prince's, and they create brands like Mazola and Crisp and Dry and so on, and Flora indeed. Right, final story this week, Matt, and it's a story of tremendous British innovation to do with managing factories in the middle of the pandemic, but it has a lifespan beyond the pandemic itself. This is a terrific technical story from Tharsis up in Blyth.
Yes, Yes, Tharsis has partnered with Smith & Nephew on a pilot to trial its Bump social distancing device in its factory in Hull. It's a really cool story, this, and obviously it was launched at the height of the pandemic. They've been looking at the data that this captures. Essentially, it's worn by members of staff, whether they're in the office, whether they're in the factory, whether they're in a warehouse, and it warns that staff member when he or she is too close to a colleague. There's some really cool data that both the staff member can view themselves, but also the business can, to make improvements, to make sure that their staff members are safe when carrying out their day jobs.
And that also means, of course, that they can work out how they can see, I believe, from the data where the bottlenecks are and how to improve efficiency generally, which is why I say it has a lifespan beyond the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think all of us will agree that data is certainly one of the most important things to a manufacturing business. So, let's go back to the good old lean days of looking at the data to make strategic improvements to factories. This really is no different. So, I'm hopeful that yes, post the pandemic, when it's all long and forgotten, we'll still be seeing this used in factories to improve flow and improve, operational performance across a factory site.
Well, Matt, thank you very much indeed for that story and for being with us this week on the Zanute TV News Show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Check in next week for more from Zanute TV. From me and Matt, goodbye for now.